Hello, what's up guys, I'm Kyle from KGR, and this is the Nendoroid Spongebob. Now, I've watched SpongeBob since the show first came out. Yes, I'm that old. And I've also collected figures like this over the years. And I'm not talking about just Nendoroid, Figma, SH Figuarts, or insert any other toy line here. I mean, I've had SpongeBob figures very similar to this where you could customize different pieces of him, like take out his face, take out his arms, and do whatever, make him look different. So this is a concept I'm very familiar with. So with this being said, there's two SpongeBob figures that are absolutely fantastic. It is this as well as the Super 7 Ultimates figure. I only allowed myself to get one, so I chose this one, and I gotta say, this is probably my favorite SpongeBob figure I ever had. I think it's one of the best. Is he perfect? Almost! If he came with a few more things, he would have been perfect. So first up, let's talk about this figure. Let's go over the sculpt. I feel like this is the nearly perfect sculpt for SpongeBob. The paint applications are fantastic. I love how glossy the shoes are and how everything is a matte finish, so it has that premium look to it. I also love how even though the shoulders are on hinges, from the front you don't see it at all. All the business is being done on the back, which you're not paying attention to the back anyway. You know how you see his famous holes all over his face and back? I kind of wish you could see that from the top and the sides as well, but it's not a deal breaker. It's just a nitpick, I guess. I also love how they really added depth to his mouth. Like, I feel like it's such a fine attention to detail. So, like, normally, when it comes to his buck teeth that you see in his mouth, you see it normally just sculpted on top of it, and then you just move on from there. While with this, they really added depth to it. They really made it so the teeth are really, like, suspending in front of the rest of his mouth, like a normal mouth should. So, overall, this figure is so clean looking. Like, you see the premium product that this figure is. And I feel SpongeBob is one of the few characters that perfect the Nendoroid sculpt. Because Nendoroids are typically like short, chibi anime characters, and I'm typically not a fan of that. I'd rather have a traditional action figure, but there are a few characters that Nendoroid perfects, and SpongeBob is definitely one of those characters. And I love how clean everything is. The only thing that you can really notice that makes him really pop out as an action figure is the giant seam where you swap out his face, as well as the little seam for his articulation on his wrist. Everything else just looks so polished. I love this thing. And it wouldn't be a good SpongeBob figure or a good Nendoroid if it didn't have all these accessories. Now with the Super 7 Ultimates figure, you can make him either be bubble blowing or jellyfishing. And I kind of wish we got some of that here, because with this we only have Fry Cook. I'm happy he at least came with Gary. But I also mentioned earlier how his teeth like really pop out and it really adds life to it. While with Gary, it doesn't seem to get that amount of love as well, like how his eyes are pretty much molded to his shell. I mean, it looks fine, but it makes you wish it got that same amount of love and detail like SpongeBob did. Now, I'm very hit and miss on Nendoroid accessories personally, because there was one time where I got a Nendoroid, I believe it was the Breath of the Wild Link, the DX version, so it came with the horse and a bunch of other accessories. That figure overwhelmed me personally, because when you lay out all of his accessories, he has way too many when it comes to just having dynamic limbs, like just his arms and legs. And it kind of turned me off from Nendoroids for a while, because I don't want to have to swap out 3 pieces per limb in order for him to have like a outgoing arm or a straight arm or a leg or whatever. This is perfectly fine. I kind of wish we got 2 bent legs instead of just 1, but it wouldn't have looked natural. Like, one of my favorite poses I like to do for SpongeBob, give me one sec, which I guess I can show off how easy it is to set this up. So we're just gonna simply just pop out the one arm, and we're gonna pop in this. Then take out that arm and put in this arm. Take that. And then we're gonna take out this leg, and then we're gonna take out the foot. Get this bent knee, and then place that in here, and then we just bend that foot a little bit back and just bend this one a little bit forward, and now he's ready. No lie, going into this figure before I even opened it, I was thinking if I couldn't do this pose, I wouldn't like this figure. So when I saw that I could do this, it made me so happy. Now the Super 7 Ultimates figure does not have bent knees at all. And even though you could technically just put hinges in his arms and legs, they'd be so tiny and probably so fragile that it's probably not a good idea. But more importantly, especially on a Nendoroid side of things, it would kill the sculpt. It would just not make it look very fluid or polished. So this comes across as a much nicer figure. So I gotta say, interchanging stuff like this and displaying it like this is not really meant to be much of a kid's toy. This is primarily either for collectors or for adults or teenagers, I guess. Which I never went over the articulation on this guy. It's very, very simple. Ball hinge on the shoulders. At the bottom of his shirt cuff, I guess, you got the swivel right here and then a swivel on the wrist. Ball jointed legs, which look very, very clean. And then a swivel on both the bottom of the pant leg as well as the shoe. And that's pretty much all you need for SpongeBob. And thankfully, swapping out accessories for SpongeBob is so simple. So even if you're getting this for someone who's primarily not much of a figure collector, but they just love SpongeBob, this is a great gift for them. The only thing that sucks is this thing is expensive. It is like at least 50 or 60 bucks. And I was very curious on how swapping out faces and eyes was gonna be on this figure. Thankfully, it's very simple. You just pry open the face, which opening it for the first time is a little tough, but after you do it the first time, it's easy after that. And then getting the eyes out is very simple. You just press from the back of this, push that forward, and then you should be able to easily lift out of here. And then if you want to pull out different eyes, I hate trying to get these things out of here if I don't have a tool. So there's that. And also I want to mention, these do technically go in one way. You can technically put this eye over here. With this eye, you really see a difference, but with other ones, surprisingly, it matches very well on what it's supposed to be earlier. But the reason why they only fit one way, and it's not just because of these eyes in particular, where the eyelids are right there, but it's mainly because all three sets of eyes are sculpted in the very center where it kind of has a little bit of a notch, so it doesn't overlap each other and it just fits perfectly. So after you're done with that, you just put that back on and then you're good. Personally, I don't think I'm gonna use the regular smiling face all that much. I like his mouth open more than anything. And then when it comes to his hat, as you can see, there is no peg on top of his head, which some Nendoroids have been doing this lately, and I really like it, but the Sackboy didn't do it all that well. You see, with Sackboy, you can have either like a hat or bunny ears, but the bunny ears were so heavy and dense that the mechanism that I wanted to use didn't work all that well. So let me explain that. So instead of having a peg on here to really ruin the sculpt, instead they have each hat accessory have a little plastic tab in there. So what you do is you open this up a little bit and then you tuck it in and then press. And if you did it right, it stays in there pretty well. So you gotta be, I guess, a little aggressive for it to really fall out. But yeah, if you're just playing with it and like doing its thing, like it's not gonna fall out. It's fine. And then let's give SpongeBob the Krabby Patty, but these have little stems on there. So that's pretty much for if this is like in storage or something and the weather or climate changes in your house, that the plastic itself doesn't warp or anything, so when you try to swap it out, it doesn't like do a death grip on his arm and then just snap and break. Now let's swap out the arm, because I don't want to do a bent arm for his spatula. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this hand off, we're gonna peg that in there, take the stem off for this, pop that in, and look! Now he's very proud that he made a Krabby Patty. And if you want to take the spatula and the Krabby Patty off, you can. There we go. Except SpongeBob will just have a peg in his hand, so just keep that on. But you can make it look like he's giving a thumbs up though, and he also has another thumbs up hand, but this one can't hold the spatula. And in case you're wondering, yeah, he does come with his own dedicated stand. This is a much larger stand compared to other Nendoroid stands, so it'll house him and Gary just fine. So closing thoughts, I feel if it would have came with a few more accessories, like a dedicated set of eyes for having glasses on and having the fishing rod, since he already has a holding hand, like he'd be able to just pop in a fishing rod no problem. And adding just a little jellyfish just to add on to the display stand, I feel like that could have been added on very easily. Bubble blowing, on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure on how that would have went, but I feel that if it at least came with the jellyfishing, I feel this would have been like the perfect SpongeBob figure, hands down. And I feel if this would have released 10 years ago, it probably would have included that. But Nendoroids have gotten so much better over the years that I want to say it almost makes up for not having the accessories, but I really miss having the amount of accessories that we had back then. Or at least sell it separately as like a separate accessory kit, because I know they do those sometimes. And I also gotta say, like, the way the figure looks, it reminds me so much of like the Burger King toys from back then too. I don't know what it is, but it gets me nostalgic for Burger King. I wish I still enjoyed Burger King, because right now their food's so gross. I hate it. So if you do want to order this figure yourself, I will have affiliate links in the description. So if you do want to grab it, it does help me out if you click those links. I was excited for this figure, but I loved this thing a lot more than I expected. Like, this is a fantastic SpongeBob figure. And that's going to be it for the video. So if you're new and you like what you saw, you know what to do. In the description, there's going to be my social media as well as places where you can order this. And let me know in the comments, do you plan on picking this up? What's your favorite episode of SpongeBob? I have a hard time narrowing down one myself because the first 3 seasons or so are absolute peak. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys to death. And I'll see you on the next one. So peace.